Kroger Delivery has one mission: to deliver the freshest food right to your door. That's why our drivers are pros. Our trucks are refrigerated. And when it comes to low prices, we always deliver. With $20 off your first order of $75 or more, there's no better time to get in on the action. Mission accomplished. Restrictions apply. See site for details.
Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Welcome to the Jello Jiggling podcast. I'm your host, Ryan Ward, and it is that time of year again. The Lakers will get their season underway tonight against the Minnesota Timberwolves at Crypto.com Arena. I believe the time is 7:30, 8 o'clock. Maybe I should have been prepared for that. 7 o'clock. Sorry, 7 o'clock. And it's going to be one of two games to get the season underway tonight. The other game is, I believe it's New York against Boston, which also should be good. And I think that, well, obviously plays before the Laker game because it's on the East Coast. But this could be a potentially crazy night for a number of different reasons. I mean, number one, obviously you have the Bronny James, LeBron. It's going to happen tonight. They're not going to draw this out any further than tonight. It's kind of be like, let's get this over with. Let's get this done. Let's make history. I think that's the whole reason this was done in the first place. But, and even I think Ken Griffey Jr. and Sr. are going to be in the courtside, famous duo in baseball for the Seattle Mariners. Griffey was one of my favorite players growing up. I mean, still, I think has the sweetest swing I've ever seen in my life. I remember all of us back then tried to emulate that swing. Now it's probably like Ohtani and Judge and whatever, like who are going to be in the World Series. That's another cool thing going on for LA. But I think it'll be cool. It'll be a cool night just because we're getting basketball back underway. I mean, it's always fun. It's a fun time of year because there's all these sports kind of either slowing down, speeding up, or just getting started. I mean, the NBA is just getting started. You got the baseball that's going into the World Series with our team, the Dodgers. Well, if you're, an LA true and blue LA guy or girl or person, then, you're amped up for that. I think that gets underway on Friday. And then the NFL is like hitting near that halfway point. I think we just had week 7. My Raiders suck again this year, full of drama. So NFL, it's not that fun for me at the moment. But hey, I'm playing fantasy football, and that always makes it fun. But with the Lakers, there's so many questions heading into this season. A lot of uncertainty, a lot of unknowns. They don't have a great bench. They've got a really promising rookie and a rookie that many people feel like shouldn't even be in the NBA or just needs a lot of polish. Excuse me, just dropped my headphones. Obviously Bronny James was a big talking point in Summer League and during the preseason, and he didn't really do much to impress anyone. I will say this. I love the kid's defensive instincts. I think he's a potentially great defender. Just the problem is if you can't make an impact offensively, you're not going to get on the basketball floor. You're not going to be an NBA player. You have to do both things, right? I think most NBA players, they're decent defensively, or they're not a complete liability defensively, and they're great on offense. Most players, just thrive on 3-point shooting or scoring, or, that's where they make their money. And defense is just kind of taking a back seat in the NBA for years, for quite some time with the 3-point revolution, scoring revolution, I guess you'd say. So he's got potential to be an NBA player, but needs a lot of polish, a whole lot of polish. He is going to. It's probably going to be a rough ride for him, as long as he's not on the main squad. If they thrust him in the fire and they keep him up there, which I don't think it's going to happen. JJ Redick's not a stupid guy. He knows that that would only lead to a potential disaster. Making rifts in the locker room for one, anger in the fan base for two. Even if it's what LeBron wants, which I don't think LeBron. I think LeBron is resigned to the fact that, hey, my kid's going to be in South Bay pretty much the whole season, unless there's injuries that happen and they have to bring him up. So it's. I think the Bronny thing is going to be after tonight. It's not going to be a talking point for very long, unless he makes a ton of noise in South Bay for all the good reasons. I mean, it could go either way, and if it goes good, he'll make headlines. If it goes bad, he'll make headlines, but it won't be so much linked to the Lakers in terms of their success, and failures or whatever this season. It's more about Dalton Knecht. Dalton Knecht, they took with the number 17 overall pick in this past draft, and everyone was shocked that he fell that far. I guess most people were expecting him being in the top 10, or a few picks before the Lakers got on the clock. But fortunately, he landed with the Lakers, and he has been an absolute stud. He is Bronny's got defensive instincts that are impressive. Excuse me, but Knecht is a born scorer. This guy has just got the knack for scoring. He can do it all over the floor. Like he can drive to the lane, he can draw contact, he can create his own shot. He's a great shooter from beyond the arc. And he showed that in the last preseason game that he played, where who were they playing? Phoenix, I think, where he lit them up for 35 points. I think he scored 25 straight points at the end of the game, which is incredible. He's just fearless. He's got that. You wouldn't think he's a rookie. You would think he's like a player that's played five years. He seems totally comfortable on the basketball court, which is something that can't really be taught. You need the reps, and you need that internal confidence to play like that. And he's got all that. I've been super impressed. I love watching him play. I can't wait to see him tonight. I hope tonight he gets on the floor and does some things and shows people he can do it against a really good basketball team, because the Timberwolves are arguably the best defense in the league. I think they were the second seed in the West heading into the playoffs last year. They got all the way to the West Finals. Luka and Kyrie just happened to be a little bit better, and were able to beat them and advance to the NBA Finals, which didn't go too well for them. But Minnesota's their time is now, right? They've got that championship window. They're great defensively. They have a bona fide superstar in Anthony Edwards, who's only going to get better. They just made the deal sending Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks in exchange for former Laker Julius Randle and sharpshooter Dante DiVincenzo, which might be a move that eventually works out in their favor in terms of winning the trade. I mean, obviously the best player in the deal is Karl Towns, and generally that's who wins the trade, whoever gets the best player. But in terms of fit, this might make more sense. Dante DiVincenzo is a lights-out shooter. I mean, I think he was averaging well over 40% last year, and he's fearless. He's got the connect thing. He's just fearless, and he's got an attitude. And now he's got a chip on his shoulder, so he's going to want to prove something, because I don't think he liked the trade at all. I think it took everybody by surprise, all three of those guys. And then there's Randall, who I don't think really was fond of playing in New York. I don't think he liked the pressure. I don't think he liked the constant criticism. He got that a little bit in LA. But the thing is, he wasn't the guy. I mean, Jalen Brunson's the guy in New York, and he has been for the last 2 seasons, I would say. But Randall's got roughed up a little bit, I think, and now I think he said something like, "This is more my speed in Minnesota compared to New York," and it's like going 100 miles an hour and slowing down to 40. There's no pressure in Minnesota. I'd say the only pressure is it's they do have expectations, but not like New York is going to have. Like New York is going to be the talk of the NBA outside of Boston, and OKC probably. But it's an interesting move for both teams, especially with both teams being legit contenders at this point, and they're shaking things up right after having a lot of success last year. I mean, the Knicks didn't go as far as Minnesota did, mainly because of injuries, just kept piling up. Like Randall didn't even play in the playoffs. I think he was dealing with a shoulder injury or something like that. But regardless of that, Minnesota is a really good team, and they're going to put the Lakers and JJ Redick to the test right out of the gate. It's a tough matchup for them. The only advantage the Lakers have is they're playing in LA. They're playing in LA. They're going to have the spectacle of this NBA historic moment with LeBron and Bronny, which is going to happen. I don't know when it's going to happen. First quarter, second quarter, third quarter, whatever. I think it's a lot. I mean, I think they're not going to start him, but maybe that first substitution in the backcourt will be Bronny, and they'll just play 5 minutes, whatever, maybe run a play for them, pick and roll or something to just to hype it up, because this does feel more like a marketing, not a basketball move in any sense. Even though LeBron thinks Bronny is, an incredible player. He said something last year about players in the league and how his kid's way better. And it's like, dude, that's not true. Everybody could see it. He needs time. I like the kid. I do. I think he's humble. I think he's grounded. I think he knows the situation. He doesn't like the added attention. He's not like his dad. Like LeBron soaks up attention, right? He loves it. Bronny is the complete opposite. He seems very kind of introverted. He doesn't like the limelight. He just wants to play basketball, right? And then after having, that life-threatening cardiac arrest last year, he's getting a second chance at life in a sense. And now he's, realizing his dream. He gets to play with his dad. I think he's more stoked about just being in the NBA and being a professional basketball player and getting through what he got through. And he'll spend the majority of the time with the South Bay Lakers, and there's nothing wrong with that. And that's exactly what should happen. But tonight will be the exception. There was something interesting that happened right before I jumped on, which impacts the Lakers greatly. Let me find it real quick. Sorry, I'll go throwing together quickly. So Shams Charania, who just made the jump from The Athletic to ESPN, just made an appearance on the Pat McAfee show. And he said, this is quoted straight from Shams, LeBron James is going to play at least 2 more years, and he could potentially go 3. I don't think anybody would be surprised if he played beyond next season. Now, this is interesting. Because I was kind of convinced that this was it. This was the season, right? He knows the Lakers are not really going anywhere at this point. They're going to need to make some big move in order to jump up and be able to play with the big boys in the West, because the West is stacked. The East only got better. It's a challenging time of parity in the NBA, but there are some very good teams. OKC, Minnesota, Denver. Even though I think Denver's going to take a step back this year. Then you got over New York, Philly, Boston, of course. It's a tall task to say that the Lakers are going to be competitive, or I think they'll be competitive, but not a heavyweight, right? They need another guy. They need a deeper bench. Their bench is super thin, which is crazy because I think Knecht could be their 6th man. He could be the guy that comes in and puts up 20 points. You know what I mean? It just becomes that kind of microwave type score. And that'll be his thing. And then maybe eventually he'll jump into the starting lineup or just get a significant bump in playing time. But here's another thing from Shams. It's very likely that LeBron James and Bronny James are on the floor together tonight. Well, I think that's pretty obvious at this point. I think there's a plan to have this moment and celebrate this moment. Yeah, that's been the plan all along. It's like one of the worst kept secrets in NBA history. Like the press conference that they had after I think it was JJ's introductory press conference. Rob Pelinka, the GM, was just talking about history, about making history with this move. So clearly had nothing to do with basketball. It had nothing to do with making this team better. It was just a historic moment. They're very self-aware in terms of knowing where they are in the West, in the NBA right now. It'd be very surprising for them to be a title contender this season. I mean, don't ever rule it out because you got two of the best players of all time playing on the same team in LeBron and Anthony Davis. But it's just the competition's just stacked. And it's a lot of homegrown teams, Denver homegrown, with the exception of a few guys. Minnesota definitely homegrown. OKC definitely homegrown. And now they've added a couple guys on top of that. Former Laker Alex Caruso, one of the biggest mistakes the Lakers ever made was letting him go. He's in OKC now. Isaiah Hartenstein, he's their center. I think he's hurt, though. I think he's not playing for a few weeks, which obviously ain't great. But I think they're deep enough and stacked in so many areas that it ain't going to matter that much. Interesting, to say the least, interesting that LeBron might be playing that long. And hey, if his body's still holding up and he's still playing well, why not? And he's got aspirations to be an NBA owner, and you need money to do that. And he's already a billionaire, but you still need a lot of money to invest in a team. And everybody's saying he's going to be one of the guys who's going to invest in a team in Vegas. If that becomes an expansion team, which I think is another worst kept secret, I think that's definitely the next expansion team, but they're going to do two. The other one, my guess would be Seattle, but there are other places that are in the mix too. But I would say I think it's a no-brainer. Vegas, Seattle. You have established fan bases in both places. I mean, Vegas is basically Lakers territory, but look what they did in the NHL with the Golden Knights, the Las Vegas Aces, and the WNBA. It's become a sports town, and it's become a successful one, right? So it's a no-brainer. Like I think Shaq said he's interested, or he would think about it. Mark Cuban even mentioned something since he's sold his stake in Dallas, or the majority stake, I think. It's so. With that said, LeBron making as much money as he can over the next few years before this happens, or maybe he's waiting for that announcement, and that'll give him a timeline. Hey, look, the expansion team will be in 2028. You know what I mean? So I'm going to play as long as I can from now until then, and go from there, right? And try my best to become, part of this ownership group, which, I mean, it's like Magic Johnson with the Dodgers and the Commanders. And sorry, I just got another text message. It's he just elevates it to another level. Right. And Magic Johnson is a brilliant businessman. And from all accounts, so is LeBron. So I think LeBron will be near same level as Magic when he, leaves the game. He's done so much still as a player that it's going to carry over to that. And he'll be, I'm sure he's have his hands in a lot of pies. I mean, he's part of the ownership group for Liverpool, my soccer team. I think that's the part of the Red Sox, I believe, the ownership group that owns the Red Sox. I can't remember what they're called. It might be Fenway something, whatever. But he's already, it's already put. I think a lot of players are going that way. I could see Kevin Durant doing the same thing. The guys that are making a ton of money, they'll probably go the same direction. It'll become a thing, it'll become a popular thing that the guys do, and then will make a ton of money. So I thought that was interesting. I think tonight will be. I can't see the Lakers winning this game. I think Minnesota's too damn good, and the Lakers are a work in progress. And they have a first-time head coach who's never coached before, who's going to be trying out a bunch of new things and learning on the fly. And that they don't have a deep bench. I mean, the injuries to Christian Wood and Jared Vanderbilt are massive, and then they don't even have Christian Koloko cleared yet. I mean, the update the Lakers gave us the other day or yesterday, I think it was, they had a weird designation for Koloko that a lot of us were like, what the hell does that even mean? It was like something about reconditioning. And it didn't say, waiting for NBA approval or anything. So it was strange. And the Lakers are not, they do this a lot. They throw stuff out there and you're like, why did they do that? It just creates more questions and more uncertainty rather than just, leave it kind of vague and kind of, just, hey, look, he's not ready. He's not cleared. The NBA hasn't given us the green light. What's wrong with that? Instead, they came up with some reconditioning thing, and it's just like, what? Okay, fine. But it'll be interesting to see what happens tonight. The whole LeBron-Bronny thing, and then just seeing how this team is, seeing what Knecht can do, how many minutes he's going to play. Max Christie, I think a lot of us are interested in what Max Christie can do with more playing time because Darvin Ham really didn't give him much of any playing time last year, even though he's kind of alluded that he would heading into the season and just kind of pivoted in a different direction. A lot of question marks. Can Rui take it to another level? How will D'Lo play? Austin Reeves, it's just a lot of questions, but I think that's exciting. I think the unknown is exciting. I think uncertainty to a certain extent is exciting. So I'm excited. I'm hoping for big things. But it's going to be a lot of wait and see. And I'm interested to see what happens because I'm going to be doing this a lot more. Jumping into the video game. Well, this kind of media, this kind of medium with YouTube and playback and all that stuff on Instagram live. I honestly, I'm not a big fan of doing podcasts solo like this because it's hard to talk for 30 minutes straight. But when you got all this stuff, all these things happening all at once and all this anticipation and stuff, it's, the thoughts come quick and easy. But I'm hoping to get more guests on here, maybe former players, maybe even current players, who knows? So my colleagues, the Lakers Nation, and just get this thing rolling, man. I'm gonna have to do this. This has been my goal for years, and I've never thrust myself into it because I didn't know if I could do it for one. Now I have no doubt. It's just a matter of planning and putting it in motion and getting the routine down. So I'm excited to do this. I'm excited to bring this to you guys. I hope that you guys will be interested in this. But until next time, I think we got a game on Friday after this, I believe. So we're off and running. We are off and running. I think Friday and then Sunday. It's a grind. The NBA season is a grind, but it's also fun. So until next time, guys, see ya.
If you like the show, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. It really does help the show to grow. Thank you for listening.